my experience, it's so great to be a yogi, and it's so great to be a yoga teacher because it's oftentimes like so much mirroring, right? And a lot of times we're sharing from we're sharing from our personal practice, right? Those of us that have gone through like teacher trainings and whatnot, right? We're trying to offer the experience based on what we're going through. And then sometimes there are teachings that we put out, and then it like automatically, it's like it kind of boomerangs back to us. And then you're like sitting in the midst of like the teaching that you just offered, which was this teaching that we talked about yesterday about, showing up and this activation of the heart and, all these things. So my experience today was like, and then another part of it is that you're a yogi, so you're observing yourself, right? And you're just like, wow, this is ridiculous, because you get to see the whole process unfold. And, and for me, I just find a lot of like humor and joy in it. And so there was a moment in my day, like early on, where there was a conversation that I was in, and within that conversation, I got triggered, right? And I felt like a lot of discomfort, and I almost didn't even know like what exactly was the feeling, but it was not a good feeling, right? And it was like, just lower vibration, right? Like anger and frustration and sadness and like all of the heavy lower chakra like pull, and it just kind of is sitting there, just like feels like it's in your gut, right? Like, oh God, this like doesn't feel good. And of course there's like the positive mind, right, side of the brain that's just like, you need to just like move your body, right? You need to just like do what you need to do to like move through this. But then there's also that part of the brain that is just like deeply resisting, and also trying to figure out like, well, what is this? Like, why do I feel this way? Why am I triggered by this? Like, what's the thing? Like, what's the puzzle piece? And then at the same time, trying to deeply avoid it, right? Trying to watch something on YouTube, trying to like look at this thing and like, well, maybe I'll do this. But it's like coming from this lower place. So nothing is right, right? Which is like, if you're coming from anxiety, fear, right? It's fear. Like a lot of it was like fear, ultimately. And so, right, anything that I'm trying to do is not working, right? To like try to resolve it, and this process takes like, it's probably like a 90-minute process, right? So it's not even fast. Like, oh, I know what to do as a yogi, as a practitioner. It takes me a while to like get there, because I'm working out like all of the psychology that's going on, right? And so then finally it's like, this is what you gotta do. So just close it up, get on the mat. And what I did, I tuned in, I did cat cow, I did good old fashioned fists of anger, which really helped. And right, because you get to be angry and you get to express it. And then I did our Nabi Kriya, the navel point with the legs and like doing the resetting. I was like, okay, it's something there. And then after that, I was listening to that Mool mantra, right? Ekonkar, Satanam, Katapurik, and the one that's like with the drum, and it feels very like militant, and I felt that, and like tuning into that, and just like, wow, there's like so much energy in the body. And it's like just trying to direct it out in this very sort of militant, kind of almost forceful, like very empowered voice, like all the vibration moving through. And it was in this moment that I felt the Kundalini, and I felt like everything shift up into the heart, and that the anger and the upset, and right, because it has to do with another person, right, that like triggered me. So immediately it's like we project everything onto that person, and we want to just destroy them, right? And we want to destroy the thing in the relationship and like shut it down, and right. And so this like militant energy, and then all of a sudden it like got into the heart, and it was like, but really it's about like there is a heart connection with this person, this is somebody that I really care about. And like then I began to use the mantra to just tune into that, right? And to like be in that space. And then I went through the 11 minutes and then went through what we basically just did in the whole right thing. And it's just an example. And then I'm laughing, right? And which I also see happen to a lot of you in the practice too, right? It's like the energy lifts up and then it's like this big smile. And I remember sitting with my teacher one time and talking about healing. And I was just like, but how do you know like when you've healed? And he was like, because a big smile comes across your face. Right? I was like, oh, wow. And so then like a few minutes towards the end of that final like Apsahe Hoa, all of a sudden, like it just started to storm and rain. And like, you know, we haven't had a heavy rain here for a while. And I was like, oh yes, you know, I opened my eyes, I peeked, I could like see the cloud coming in, and then the rain was coming down, and I have this like little front porch area that's like very private. So when I finished and like tuned out afterwards, I just like ripped my clothes off and went into the rain and just like received the cleansing of the spirit of the rains, and like just like rinsing all of that away and just, you know, connecting in the way that I felt called to connect, and clearing all of that. And obviously there's so much there, but just an example of like, right, like we're using these practices because to walk around, you know, all day with like that feeling in your stomach when you're just like so angry and upset, and you know, or whatever it is, right, that like heaviness, that dullness, that like the reason for the practices is truly to just bring the energy up. And then of course after that it was like, oh wow, you know, now I can like really move through this, and I can also see more clearly the dynamic, right? And I can see from a place of love, and I can see that like my triggers are really my triggers, right? Even though it's like someone else or it's a conversation that makes it happen, it's like my, right? It's like my stuff to deal with. So I just offer that to you as inspiration for walking through the twisty, windy path of life. And thank you so much for practicing and being here. You're all so beautiful, and I just wish you so much abundance and prosperity and love and creativity and beauty. And I'll see you very soon. I'll see you tomorrow if you're able to show up. Much love. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.